Hello, everybody, and welcome to another StarCityGames.com YouTube video here. We are going to be playing some green-red Ponza in Modern today. So what green-red Ponza is all about is attacking the opponent's mana base. So what that's built around is playing 4 Stone Rain here in the main deck, as well as 4 Acid Moss. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that first word. I don't even know how to. But that allows us to destroy a land and ramp ourselves. So that's one of our best tempo cards. So besides Stone Rain and Acid Moss, our other thing that we're doing to attack their mana base is playing 4 Blood Moons. Blood Moon is a card that I think is quite good in the format right now, especially with Titan Shift being the #1 deck that you need to be able to beat. But just finding a real good Blood Moon deck is kind of hard. There's not a whole lot of them around. And so I think this is one of the best options for playing Blood Moon in the format. And so this is the main reason why I want to play this deck today. So since we have some more expensive spells that only deal with the mana base, we're going to need some acceleration. So with our acceleration, we have 4 Arbor Elf and 4 Utopia Sprawl. That if we have a turn 1 Arbor Elf and then a turn 2 Utopia Sprawl, we could potentially have 4 mana on turn 2. Also have 1 Bird of Paradise, just kind of make it 9 1-mana accelerants, because we really just want to go from 1 to 3, as you can tell, with nothing that just costs 2 in the deck. I also have, or we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, so then with some threats here, we have 4 each of Tireless Tracker and Huntmaster of the Fells. Now, Tireless Tracker makes you want to play more lands than normal, which is the reason why I'm playing 23 lands here in the Ponza deck. You see a lot of Ponza decks that run like 21, 22 lands maybe. A lot of them play 21. I like having a couple more lands just to make sure I can continue to hit land drops, because Tireless Tracker is going to be our biggest threat. So what we're going to try to do is slow our opponent down, or maybe really slow them down with Blood Moon, or just slow them down a little bit with with Stone Rain or Acid Moss, and then play a tracker and start getting clues and start gaining an advantage that way. Besides that, we have some top end of our curve to be able to go over the top of our opponent, since we are ramping just a little bit with Acid Moss. Starting with, I have 1 Chandra, Torch of Defiance, kind of a split card that can be a removal spell or a ramp card or card advantage engine. It's just a nice solid card. So I have 1 in there. And there's a lot of creatures in the format that we need to be able to deal with, and so Chandra's going to help us with that. If we're ever lucky enough to have the turn 2 Chandra play with our Arbor Elf and Utopia Sprawl, it's pretty hard for a lot of decks to beat a Chandra on turn 2. I have 2 Stormbreath Dragons and 2 Inferno Titans. Those are cards that a lot of decks have many more of, but I'm not playing as many because I'm more focusing on Tireless Tracker and Huntmaster of the Fells. To out mid-range my opponents, basically. I have 1 Thragtusk to be able to gain a lot of life, and also just another very good 2-for-1 threat against any kind of mid-range deck. 1 Acidic Slime, which I'm not the happiest about. This could definitely be another card. It could turn out that maybe we want another Chandra or any of these Thragtusks, Stormbreath, any of these cards. Or it could be one of these Primal Commands in the board, could be in the main deck. So right now I'm still on the Acidic Slime. I still have 1, but it's probably my least favorite card in the entire main deck. I could definitely see changing this card. But it is a very good way to curve after you destroy a couple lands. Curving into this to destroy another land, it could just end the game on the spot by doing that. Could really set your opponent back way too far. And it does have Death Touch, so it can trade with larger creatures such as Death Shadow. So it does have its uses, but for 5 mana, I'm not sold that this is the best use of the slot. And then 1 Wormcoil Engine, great card against not only burn, but then also other mid-range strategies. So as you see, we have a lot of threats that are just good in mid-range fights. Tracker and Huntmaster of the Fells can generate their own value. And then we have some hard to deal with things like Thragtusk and Wormcoil Engine. Inferno Titan up at the top helps us clear out our opponent's creatures. It's kind of like one of our removal spells, plus it's just a absolutely huge threat. I mean, it's a giant. I mean, that's what it says, creature giant, right? So that's literally what it is. Not much kills Stormbreath Dragon since it has protection from white. Path to Exile doesn't work. It's bigger than Lightning Bolt. Fatal Push cannot get rid of a dragon. You can't just push a dragon over. That doesn't work. So it's another very good threat. So we're basically wanting to slow our opponents down and then just keep dropping threat after threat after threat. So this kind of deck would struggle with a lot faster decks. But thankfully, the format is actually pretty slow right now, especially with Titan Shift being the best deck. There's not a whole lot of fast decks. The ones that we do see mostly are Burn, Affinity, and Storm. Now, for Burn, we have a lot in our sideboard for Burn. So let's start. We have 3 Kitchen Finks that can help us gain some life at the lower spot of the curve. But then whenever we get up to the top part of our curve, we can gain a lot of life. So we have another Thragtusk that's just 5 life is just an unreal amount. And then if you think 5's a lot, we have Primal Command that can gain us 7 life. And that's really hard for Burn to come back from. Primal Command is also just another tool at fighting Titan Shift decks because you just slow them down some more. It can basically be a land destruction spell, even though it just puts the land back on top of their library. It can also deal with any kind of just weird permanents that are hard to deal with, like artifacts, enchantments, anything that's giving us trouble. We can use Primal Command, and then we can also use Primal Command to search our library for a creature and put it into our hand. Specifically against Burn, we're going to want to go get a Thragtusk. Against a lot of decks, though, we're probably getting Inferno Titan or Wormcoil Engine to be able to cast the turn after Primal Command. So I'm really happy with these Primal Commands in the sideboard. We have a couple of bullets. We have 1 Fracturing Gust to help in our Affinity matchup, because that's another one that's going to be pretty tough game 1. So for that matchup, we have not only a Fracturing Gust, but we have 2 Ancient Grudges to be able to just, destroy artifacts. 1 artifact in particular that we really want to make sure to get off the table is Cranial Plating. We also have 3 Anger of the Gods that can destroy all of the, exile all of the small creatures in Affinity, and as well as Dredge. That can help there. And the last card in our side, I guess we got a couple more cards in our sideboard. We have Crumble to Dust here that just, again, hurts the Titan Shift decks and also hurts any kind of Tron variant. The Tron decks aren't the most prevalent, and we have a pretty good matchup against like regular green Tron with all of our land destruction already. But if we can hit a Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, with this Crumble to Dust, that's basically going to end the game on the spot. And I also have just a couple of Lightning Bolts in the board to be able to deal with the smaller combo creatures that need to be dealt with right away. So that's specifically talking about the Storm creatures that you need to be able to kill on the spot, and then also Devoted Druid. That's another one you need to get rid of. Steel Overseer is another nice target. But so I have a couple of Lightning Bolts. I've been real happy with the 2 Lightning Bolts. It's possible I want 1 or 2 in the main. I could see maybe the Chandra and Acidic Slime could just turn into Lightning Bolts, or maybe just the Acidic Slime. I know it looks weird to play 1 Lightning Bolt in a main deck, which is the biggest reason why I don't have one. But I mean, I have 1 Bird of Paradise. I could see just playing 1 Lightning Bolt. I don't hate that or anything, but yeah. So this is basically a deck that is pretty much under the radar right now, but I think it actually can compete with the top decks of the format, and I think it could be in a pretty good spot. So let's play some games here with Green Red Ponza, and let's see how we do.